Now, we don't want to work with HTTP requests at a low level, so let's use a module that helps us handle requests in a more structured way. Now, Express is a Node.js module that handles routing, request parameters, and other details of HTTP requests. It provides an API that enables us to work with requests more easily throughout our application. Overall, it provides a variety of routing and middleware functionality. Now, covering Express is not really required to teach MongoDB or the Node.js driver, but it enables us to more easily assemble interesting exercises and projects for this class. In addition, because Node.js is widely used for web apps, Express and other modules we'll look at are part of a large component of the ecosystem of tools used to build applications backed by MongoDB. To get started looking at Express, let's build a simple Hello World application. So here I have an empty app.js file. And the first thing I need to do, of course, is specify the dependency on Express. Next, I'm going to use the Express module to create an Express app with which I can register routes in my application. Now, what are routes? Simply put, routes are web addresses or URLs that we want to support within our application. Now, in this simple Hello World, we're just going to provide support for the homepage or the slash or root route. To do that, we use the app object and the get method and specify a route handler for the slash route. Okay, so here, this call to get will register this route handler for the root route. Now, you should be getting accustomed to this structure in which we call a method and pass a callback that will be executed at some point in the future. In this case, this callback or route handler will be executed anytime a client makes a request for this particular URL. Now, Express will pass along a request object and a response object, both with APIs that we can use in the case of request, determining what response to put together, and then in the case of the response object, actually building that response. We have support through the response object for creating HTTP headers as well as the body of the response. Now, in this case, the only thing we're worried about really is the body of the response. And note that we're using the response object and the send method. All send is going to do is put together a nice, well-formed HTTP response with an appropriate content length and other headers, and package Hello World up in the body of that response. Now, the next thing I want to do is handle any other routes in a graceful way. Essentially, what I'm going to do is add a fall-through route handler using the use method of our app. Putting this at the end of our route handlers essentially guarantees that any route not handled by our application will be handled by this event handler here. In this case, we're simply going to send back a 404 status, or not found. Now, finally, we're going to set this application up to listen for connections from clients. So to set up our app to listen for client connections, we use the listen method of our Express app. We specify what port we want to listen on, and a callback that should be executed once the server is up and listening. Now, in this case, I've already installed Express using the package manager, so we can simply fire it off. And we see that the Express server is listening on port 3000. Now, what we want to do is test this by connecting to it from a web browser. So hitting localhost at port 3000 from the browser causes this route handler to be executed, sending back the body, Hello World, and a 200 status response because it was successful. Now, if we try to access any other route for this server, that is the server running on localhost at port 3000, we'll get a 404 response. Try fruit, not found. How about fruit/oranges? Not found. Essentially, any other route that we try other than slash will get a 404. So from this, you should have a pretty good idea of the basics, at least, of setting up a web application using the Express routing framework.